We can't ever let it happen again. We've heard that time and time again from officials, from the public, after the killing of a child. It's a crime that often includes details that are so sickening it's hard to fathom. But it does keep happening. The leadership of the agencies involved have come and gone, as have the caseworkers, officers, investigators, and others who've handled these cases. But it hasn't stopped. So where is the accountability and the change? It's a question we started asking after the latest death of a child, James Dunkley.
It shouldn't have happened. There's no way it should have happened, and it should never happen again to anybody else.
4-year-old James Dunkley died in December, just months after his grandfather says CYFD and APD took the boy out of his home and returned him to his mother. There have been many more like him over the years.
It appears this father brutally beat this child.
There are times I wish that things that we had worked to do had been done more quickly.
It's hard to sleep at night, just thinking about the abuses poor child went through.
No one wants to see a child die under their watch, but it keeps happening. From 5-month-old baby Brianna, beaten and raped by her own father and uncle while her mother did nothing to stop it, to Victoria Martins, murdered and dismembered just one day after her 10th birthday, under her mom's watch, to 13-year-old Jeremiah Valencia, beaten, starved, left in a dog crate, then dumped in a shallow grave on the side of a highway. And in December, James Dunkley, killed allegedly by his mother's roommate, his body covered in bruises and injuries, old and new. These cases are part of New Mexico's sad history and have been behind the push for accountability and change.
There are those who think that by not talking, you can limit the bad publicity.
That demand for accountability is growing nationwide, in part because of one of the most viewed series on Netflix right now, The Trials of Gabriel Fernandez. It's the story of an 8-year-old Los Angeles boy kept in a cabinet, starved, shot with a BB gun, and beaten, and how the system failed him. It's a sad story that's sparking change. But frankly, the story isn't very different from the cases we've seen in New Mexico. We need to caution viewers, seeing her story for yourself is hard, and it is very graphic. We have never shown images like this before. It was nearly 12 years ago that we first saw the changes in law sparked by the murder of baby Brianna. Life sentences for intentional child abuse resulting in death. The abusers are going to prison longer. But what about the system, the agencies designed to save these children before it's too late?
Accountability is the #1 thing that we should focus on here so we continue to learn from these issues.
Senator Michael Padilla believes more needs to be done. He and his 4 sisters grew up in the foster system, and he has fought for years to make that system better.
You don't know what you don't know if you don't even have the data available to help you make decisions, to inform you on what needs to happen here.
He believes transparency at CYFD needs to improve. It is the agency that responds to child abuse and in part decides the best course for a child. The Children's Code does restrict CYFD from releasing any details about abuse cases when the child is still living, and requires they only release partial information when a child dies.
What do they do with it and what are they allowed to do with it? And so, from a legal standpoint, I think we really need to do a thorough flushing of the Children's Code and modernize it. I mean, this thing has not been modernized for about 20 years.
But that hasn't happened. But we do want to know what CYFD does to learn from so-called mistakes of the past.
We actively worked with Department of Health when I first came on board to look at every single child death of the last 15 years so that we could get a sense of what we could be doing better and what policy recommendations could come out of that. That was a mammoth task also because of where data is in New Mexico.
Brian Blaylock became the secretary of the Children, Youth and Families Department a little over a year ago. He says there are review systems in place.
If you don't have a death, but you have something horrible happen, well, then what's the process? For us, we're fortunate enough to have a substitute care advisory council that then can come in, an outside party, not part of CYFD.
But Blaylock says he's found that not all the processes available for use are being used or have been used in the past.
It doesn't seem like there was a real culture of self-accountability. At least when I came in and I started. It doesn't mean it didn't exist in certain pockets, and some of our teams have been very rigorous about it. But I would say over time, there hasn't been a whole lot of that idea.
Secretary Blaylock says he and his team are working hard to improve that within the agency. Senator Padilla thinks there are still some steps we need to take to get there, including the creation of a child homicide review board.
Essentially, every single component, every agency, every department, no matter who it was that interacted with anything related to a child whenever there's a homicide, should be brought together around a table, and we don't stop looking at the issue until we find out why it happened.
Once again, there's the question of how much of that the public gets to know. Do you feel there would be more accountability with everybody from the caseworkers to police to this agency as a whole if there was more transparency?
I think that the way we get to more accountability is through more collaboration and communication.
Secretary Blaylock says he is working on improving the relationship between police agencies. He says the mission is the same for all involved: save children and make sure they're living their best lives. It's just the best way to accomplish that.
When we talk about holding accountable, sometimes that can sound punitive, or sometimes it can sound like, who do we blame? And what we found so far is that when we're inviting folks to the table and we're saying we all care about children and families, we always want what's best about it, let's communicate better and collaborate more. For the most part, our partners have come to the table and that's been true. And so the way we hold each other accountable is when we see a family or a child slipping through the cracks, we pick up the phone and call.
Now, one of the biggest complaints we hear is how hard it is to get CYFD to respond to concerns of abuse or communicate with families. Is CYFD overworked? We'll have more on that as we complete our series tomorrow at 4.